Classic WoW was designed for a specific audience, the people that clamored for the past. Except it's now no longer just for that audience, it's for pretty much everybody. Whether you like that statement or not, that is the factual truth of what's happened to the Classic identity, the world. Once upon a time, Classic meant vanilla, then it meant vanilla to Wrath of the Lich King, and now it's pretty much any game that's before modern retail. Considering Mists of Pandaria Classic, Season of Discovery, an alternate version of Classic, Season of Mastery. You have variations upon the identity of Classic, and the game mode is no longer for a small subset of people clamoring for nostalgia of the past, it's for everybody. And we're gonna break that down, from the littlest detail to the biggest ones. This is now a game for the masses, for everybody, and that's okay. Or is it? Now we're gonna start from the beginning. Classic WoW began as a grassroots movement of people clamoring for the past, from private server players and people that just used to play on, they had the memory or the nostalgia of vanilla. They were just wanting that vibe in the world, the community, the memories that they had, not really knowing what they were going to get, but believing it was better than the modern game. And despite servers like Nostalrius and Light's Hope bringing the community together and pushing for it, Blizzard resisted that for a very, very long time. In fact, between the first big private servers to when Classic 2019 launched, Blizzard was adamant against it. In fact, everybody remembers the infamous quote, "You think you do, but you don't." And that quote went down in history as being a rather piss-poor quote to really have been said, but it was said. But nonetheless, Blizzard had this idea that it wouldn't work, and then they did it, and guess what? It saved the player numbers from down here and brought it back up to here, and then Shadowlands tanked it again, but now World of Warcraft's healthy all over again. And we do have Classic to thank to giving World of Warcraft that chance it needed to breathe and catch up and fix itself. But when it was pitched in 2019, it was pitched as an ideal, a recreation, pitch perfect as it was back in the day. Minimal if #no changes. And that meant the bugs and a little bit of problems and the bad systems. And that was its core appeal, the authenticity, not the accessibility, not the widespread quality of life things we know from retail and modern World of Warcraft or Season of Discovery. It was the raw, authentic shittiness of vanilla. Because that's what people were missing. Grinding for no reason but to grind. The original PvP system, everybody remembers that? One guy would break brackets, 2 million honor per week, otherwise you're gonna decay. All of that was what people wanted because that was the nostalgia they were trying to relive, the frustration, but it was authentic. It was a frustration that was built from a time where that was considered quality of life. Because you gotta remember, World of Warcraft was considered the casual game in comparison to, for example, EverQuest. And then #no changes. It became the core identity of vanilla, of Classic in this context, and just made the world unchanged. Despite there appearing to be cracks in the #no changes, that first year was fundamentally against any change whatsoever. Even the most minute of change led to massive backlash. In fact, the first major changes we got were towards the end of Classic 2019, closer to TBC, when they added the chrono boon for error plays and things of that nature, because they realized that while people loved it the first time, going forward they had to give some quality of life, and I'll cover that more later on. But at the grassroots, at the beginning, at the introduction to the world of vanilla of 2019, it was all about that raw authenticity. But think about that, 2019 from #no changes to 2025, with Anniversary having all the changes. Well, it's not as much as Season of Discovery, for example, which is beyond changes. But consider the community vibes. 2019 was minimal, if nothing, aside from, updated modern client, things of that nature. I know I say things of that nature a lot, but it's just what it is. Versus Anniversary, where there's a lot of changes, from chrono boon to PvP changes, to slight tweaks here or there, just slight quality of life changes that made the game more digestible for the modern gaming audience, right? Classic 2019 was almost a time capsule. If you think about it, it was like unlocking that lunchbox you buried in the ground because you're a 40-year-old man and you buried it when you were 7 and you're like, I'm gonna open this again when I'm an old man. You open it, you're like, damn, I missed this. Where did life go so wrong? And then, you just enjoy it and you look through the memories. But then you realize it actually wasn't that good. I was kinda a stupid kid. What the hell was I thinking? But you still loved the memories, the nostalgia it gave you. And that showed with the player base's overall age. You can look at it from any perspective, from YouTube analytics, to forum posts, to Reddit, to just the people playing, most guilds. The player base heavily skews about 30 plus, closer to 40, but around, there are still like younger people that did get into the game, they're like 25. But the average age is 25 plus around the minimum, closer to 40 though. And that showed with Classic era, where everybody was going to TBC Classic and then Wrath Classic, Kata, Mop, Sod, Som, into Anniversary. Classic era stayed very, very consistent. The player base there didn't really grow, but there's been about 10, 12,000 active raiders every single week since 2021 when TBC launched. Era servers have had a dedicated community that to this day just play Era because they love that. And that's really cool. It's really nice that they have that ability to play their favorite version of the game with no changes. And when 2019 started, it was about creating that authentic experience to let us live in the world of the Blizzard we used to love and remember. Remember, a lot of people came back to nostalgia. People thought Blizzard changed, not my Blizzard, not my company, not the same devs, not this, not that. And 2019 was like a revisit of the older days. But as Classic started to make money, things started to change. And this is the corporate problem. This isn't just a World of Warcraft problem. But this is where Classic essentially died. The original idea, the intention, the designs, it's dead. It's not coming back. And that is okay, because we, the player base, didn't really want it either with how much we demand change, shift, and align to the modern day playstyle. So you had that museum vibes, right? Oh, a look back, a flash into the past, to the live service model of modern day gaming. And what do I mean by that? Let's start with Season of Mastery first of all. The Season of Mastery added a lot of changes, right? Because while TBC Classic was happening and Wrath was happening and all that, we had Season of Mastery for the Classic players. And they tweaked the game. No world buffs. You had, faster XP, slight tweaks, quality of life here and there. But it didn't really make players play. Because it was so similar to vanilla without enough changes to make it a fun thing to play during the midst of the Burning Crusade. But the second time they went to a seasonal server with Seasonal Discovery, it literally blew the lid off the gasket. The player numbers skyrocketed. You are just shy of 500,000 raiders in Black Fathom Depths. And yes, I know the argument, but ults, it's easy to level 25. True. But I knew so many people that barely had ults that I wouldn't be surprised if 250,000 people were real individuals and no ults at all. And I also know a huge portion of the player base did not even bother logging because it's Black Fathom Depths. It's a 25-man level up raid. But I get the argument, so I did want to mention that here. But with all the new class rune combos and all like the little changes and like the playstyles, the new events, the new gear, it made everybody go, holy shit, I want this. I want changes. And it did also make the purest player base go, this is disgusting, this is vile, this is retail, how dare you? And I'll cover this more later in the video, but you could see the immediate shift between the Classic players that wanted changes without retailifying the game, and the Classic players that wanted no changes if only minimal changes. And that's where the divide really began. But let's talk about hardcore for a bit. Hardcore World of Warcraft was something that started as a community mod, a community endeavor, because that's a lot of what Classic is, the community making the game style, the gameplay loops of what we want. And hardcore was incredibly popular. And then it became an official game mode and became globally popular. And even to now, hardcore, despite not having a huge raiding populace, has a very dedicated and potentially very large player base that doesn't really give a shit about raiding. They give a shit about living in vanilla's world. And these players are for the most part the most authentic of vanilla or World of Warcraft players because they're playing World of Warcraft the same way vanilla was played. Reaching 60, the journey to reach 60, the world, the vibes, the authenticity. And the hardcore player base gets to enjoy their servers and they're having a good time. But then you had TBC and Wrath of Lich King, which right now, to this day, still has people begging for Era. They don't want to go to Cataclysm or Mop. They don't want to play Classic or Vanilla again. They want TBC Era or Wrath Era. And you can already see with how many versions I've mentioned, just how fragmented, just how broken, just how divided the Classic player base is. because it's now a game for everybody. When in 2019, your only option was vanilla. In 2025, and I'm gonna list them all, you have Era, Anniversary, you have Season of Discovery, you have Hardcore Era, and like I said, you had regular Era. Then you have Hardcore Anniversary. You have TBC Anniversary coming up. You have Cataclysm that's going into Mists of Pandaria. All of those versions are playable. That doesn't even count into Remix, which is like not considered retail, but it's not a classic. And we have Legion Remix coming as well at some point in the future. On top of retail. So many versions of World of Warcraft that once when you were a classic player, everybody assumed you meant vanilla. Or they meant classic 2019. And then it was classic era or TBC, where everybody was in TBC classic. And now when you say you're classic, which version? You gotta clarify what kind of classic player you are. And with each new game mode, the player base fragmented and fragmented and fragmented, becoming their own communities, their own player styles, their own player bases of what they wanted, the changes, the tweaks, how to do it, how to do this, how to do that. And they're just constantly clamoring at the devs to change this, do this, add this, take this, don't do this, but do this. And you can see the confusion and like the coalescence of the player base just making things complicated because everybody now wants something different. But then this is where Blizzard starts to experiment with all the new versions, Season of Discovery, for example, or Wrath of the Lich King, or Anniversary. No decay in PvP. Chrono Boon from the beginning, let's make it cheaper instead of putting Chrono Boon at the very end. Let's make dual spec a thing. Let's add new items. Let's add the Might of Stormwind buff, which in the classic player base freaked out, said no, and now, the Era players still don't have it, but the Anniversary players are kind of mad that they don't have it, because now they actually want it, but like Blizzard's not gonna, they added it and then they took it away, and now they're not gonna give it back. But for Anniversary, they really should add the Might of Stormwind buff back, but again, different question, different video. But then you had things like Group Finder, and just a lot of little quality of life features that get sprinkled between different versions, testing and seeing the player base's reception. And whilst all this was happening, you had retail players going. You had people come to try out a specific version, for example TBC, and then leave. You had people only come to play Classic but don't care about TBC or Wrath and leave. You have people that are here to play Mists of Pandaria but didn't play any Classic. Retail players are coming mainly to play Mists of Pandaria. They're excited, they want to go back to the essential quotation marks beginning of modern day retail. So what does this all mean? What's the end result? Well, Classic went from what was to what it could be. And what do I mean by that? Instead of people saying, oh man, I miss the original, they're going, the original was good, but what if we change this? What if we add this? What if we do this? What if we tweak this? What if we change this, remove this, put this? And you can see that everybody started to talk about the changes they wanted because they realized that vanilla is cool. But I'm older, I don't have the time or the grind or the dedication. So let's do this with a slight bit of seasoning to make it a better experience. And the reason for that is Classic is no longer just legacy content. It's no longer just to go back, relive the past and go back to retail. The Classic player base are not retail players. There might be some dabbling, some interconnecting, some mingling, but for the most part, they're two separate player bases. And the Classic player base wants more content, more things to do. They don't want to just go into another version of Anniversary or another version of Fresh again and again. They want stuff forever. And Classic Plus, but I'm not going to really discuss that right now. I'll come back to that in the future. So I just want to talk about the community for a second, because this one is important. Classic went from being a nostalgia trip for dads or teenagers who are now dads and adults and have a life, to a game for everybody. From the sweatiest of Parses to the casualest of dads with the 17 wives and the 42 children and the 33 jobs and the 5 minutes a week. It was a game to be played by everybody. Every single type of player base had a thing they could play. You love Classic, but it's too grindy and tedious for you, play SOD. You don't like that many changes, but you still want some quality of life, play Anniversary. You don't want any of that, you just want to play the world, play Hardcore. You want to be somewhat sweaty, more, have more tools, ability, but I want to play retail, go play Cataclysm into MOP. You want Classic, but more? Wait for Classic Plus or play some SOD. Effectively, no matter what you wanted, there was a way for you to play. But this comes somewhat at a cost. Not necessarily a super negative one, but it is one to really address, and the context of this is, every time they make a new version of Classic, they alienate an older one. Classic era players, or the fundamentalists in this context, absolutely abhor what the game has become. SOD is an amalgamation, abomination on the spirit of Classic. SOD is an antithesis to what Classic is. But at the same time, the Classic players that love SOD now look at the old version of the game and go, you're holding us back. You're stopping us from improving. You're stopping us from having a good time. You're stopping us from getting the future that Classic needs. Classic can't stay in the past, it needs to look at the future. And the people that are playing in the past say, fuck the future, the past is what matters. And at the same time, hashtag no changes is fundamentally meaningless now. There is no meaning behind that phrase. Even era has changes. So you tell the era players no more Chrono Boon, look how they freak out. Some of them will say yes, but a lot of them are going to be like, yeah, let's not. You tell the Anniversary players, hashtag no changes, they're going to be like, hold up, we didn't sign up for no changes. We didn't sign up for that. You tell them you're going to add Decay back in, all those people PvP grinding would have freaked out if you've done this a couple of weeks ago because they're all rank 14 now. You can see how little fundamental flaws and changes and systems made that the Classic player base fragmented and all kind of despise each other, make everybody feel alien, like they're this bastard stepchild. Like they're the person that doesn't matter. SOD players felt like Cataclysm and MOP is taking away from them, whereas the Phase 9 and Phase 10. Era players feel like Anniversary and SOD are taking away from the Classic community. TBC and Wrath players are just begging for any server's era at this point. Anniversary players are terrified of the concept of a TBC fresh server because all that rank 14, all that grinding, all that gear now makes them worry that all their progress was wasted. And everybody feels like the other game mode is taking away from theirs. The other game mode is making sure their child, their baby, is not being cared for. On top of that, the vanilla world and spirit is dead because the game just isn't played like that. I made a whole video on this called 2004 to 2025, and I essentially titled the video, We Demanded Classic and Then We Killed It, because the original spirit of what the game was does not exist in the modern day. The Ragnaros took 154 days to kill back then. That kind of concept, that kind of slowness, that kind of like tediousness to the world when nobody knew what they were doing does not exist. So the idea of playing the game as it was in vanilla just does not exist in the modern day and cannot be replicated. You would have to make a brand new World of Warcraft 2, a full-blown Classic Plus where the world is different from the ground up to re-experience that. And that's not happening. There's no budget for that. And on top of that, just the community itself. A lot of people were young, kids, teenagers, high schoolers. The internet itself was different. There was not just go on YouTube, type this and find the exact guide, strategy, what you need. There was a lot more rumor milling and all those things. In the modern day and age, what's the best class? Go to YouTube. Oh, I'm going to check out this guide. Oh, I'm going to check out this person. Oh, look at this. Scotty J did a Mists of Pandaria guide. Let me check that out and pick the right class. Oh, let me look at TBC. Oh, how am I down to this guide? I should play this. Oh, let me look at YouTube. Oh, Ebonheart said do this. Let me go check and try this out. Everybody is now just playing efficiently, optimized efficiency. And that is not Classic, but it is modern gaming. But the big major one is, when you say Classic, what is Classic? There is no more, this version is the authentic official Classic. Because if we were saying that, that would make MOP, the original 2019 to now Mists of Pandaria Classic. Is that the original? But MOP's not Classic. Okay, is it Anniversary? But that's got a lot of changes, so that's not Classic. Is it Era? Is Era the original authentic Classic? That's not it either. Is it SOD, continuing into the future? Is that Classic? Was it Som? Som's dead. It's clearly not that because it was also a season. What is Classic? What is the canon? What is the future? What is the authentic, real Classic? And like Eminem said, can the real Classic please stand up? No, there isn't one. There is no real Classic, but Classic is now for everybody. Classic is now a game mode, a game system. Honestly, it's a franchise. It's no longer just a game, it's a whole ass franchise. Play the Classic that's for you. And the main thing is, the soul of Classic just doesn't really exist anymore. The world does, the vibes are, but the soul has been fragmented and broken and just distraught. There's a community for everybody still. If you're sweaty, play with sweats. If you're casual, play with casuals. But in the back of everybody's mind, they think, or they're probably feeling that they're playing the game wrong. I'm not playing on the most popular version. I'm not playing on the best version. Should I be playing over there? I wish my version had more time. There's a constant gnawing on the back of people's minds that this is the wrong version. this should be the right version. Am I wasting my time? Sword players are a good example. A lot of people playing Sword are just kind of burnt out because is this the end? Are we going to Sword era? I don't want Sword era. This feels bad. I wish we had Phase 9 or 10. I wish we had Classic Plus. You have the same thing with TBC Anniversary waiting room people. Is there going to be a fresh server? There's a fresh server. I just wasted all my time. What was this for? Did you make me grind rank 14 for no reason, Blizzard? Did you make me grind rank 14 for no reason, Blizzard? Say that again to yourself. That is an actual thought process. That is an actual thing people say. And they're not technically wrong. People don't know the right continuity, the right soul, the right version for them anymore. Because there's so many options. But the problem is that Classic is one of the best versions of gaming, the best MMOs ever. The fact that the number one MMO is World of Warcraft retail, and then it's 2, followed by Final Fantasy 14, and then it's 3? Some version are Classic, then 4 is another version of Classic, and then 5 is probably also a different version of Classic. That's wild to me. That is absolutely insane in terms of player numbers and subs. It's a game that's everything, yet honestly, it kind of risks being nothing. It kind of risks losing itself. Because Classic has become a live service game inside of a live service game. We are playing a live service game with seasonal game modes, with essentially think of it like a battle pass you buy. I'm playing the Anniversary Battle Pass. I'm playing the Seasonal Discovery Battle Pass inside of World of Warcraft. This isn't a dooming or negative video. Classic being for everybody is okay. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with that. It's a game for everyone. The flexibility is both a strength, as much as it can be a negative, but it's still a strength. The fact that you can play any version of Classic that you want to play is fundamentally a good thing. Because what made Classic the best, the amazing, the phenomenal thing it wasn't the systems. It was the game we tried to live and breathe and thrive in. But it has to be said, the more Classic tries to be for everybody, the less special and unique it feels to anybody. Because that's the crux, that's the core of the issue. If a game is made for everybody, is it a good game for anybody? Because when you cater to every single person, you get the retail problem, where there's so many games baked into a shell of a game that if you look underneath it, it's like Rome, it's like being in Italy. Let me dig down, oh, there's another ancient city, oh, let me dig on this one, there's an even ancienter city. Dig down 7 layers and you're back at vanilla. Retail is a game built upon a game, upon a game, upon a game, upon a game. And Classic is facing that same problem. It's for everybody, but it doesn't have that clear future, that clear distinction of what it needs to be. And at the same time, people, and I say this, a lot of people are demanding Classic Plus. And the question is, what even is the right Classic Plus? What is the perfect Classic Plus? What is the future of Classic? Is it going to be MOP leading all the way into retail and the war within Classic in 10 years? Is it going to be TBC Anniversary into Wrath Anniversary into Wrath Era, TBC Era, and Vanilla Era repeating constantly every 3 years? Is it going to be new seasonal servers trying out brand new ideas and themes? Or is it going to effectively be Classic Plus at some point? And if it is, what is that? I'm not even going to address that in this video because this video is long as hell already. And we'll cover that in a different one. But Classic is for everyone, and that's okay. But sometimes I wish it was just for one group of players so we could get a fully dedicated, fully designed, and phenomenal experience and soul that we all loved in Vanilla in 2019. But whether you're a purist, you're an elitist, you're a sweat, you're a casual, you're a hardcore player, no matter what you are, Classic WoW is still going to pull you in because it's Classic WoW. And to this day, there is not really a better game than it. So thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. If you hated it, understandable. Dislike and subscribe and become a dedicated hater. We don't half-ass shit on this channel, we're dedicated. So subscribe, hate me, follow me over on Twitch and hate me there 4 days a week, Monday to Thursday, 1 PM to 4 PM EST. Thank you all for watching. Ebonhard out. Peace.